Hey guys, it's Erica here with the Childcare Directors Chair podcast, and we talk about leadership so much on the show, and today is no exception. We're going to talk about breaking the mold in unconventional leadership in early childhood education with our friend Jermaine Rucker. I don't want to make sure I mess it up. And I'm so excited because he also is a listener just like you who are listening right now. He's a multi-location childcare owner. He does training. He loves the CDA and all things childcare. So we're going to talk about it today. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about these programs that you have. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we hop into it.
My name is Jermaine. I'm based out of Long Island, New York, from a small town called Roosevelt. My wife and I, we own two centers located in Freeport, New York. We just recently partnered to take ownership in a professional development agency that teaches the CDA amongst a host of other trainings for state licensing regs and things of that nature. So that's kind of what we're doing with our time these days.
Yeah, we love the CDA program. Calvin was on. Well, I call him Dr. Moore, but he always corrects me and says Erica. We're friends at this point. Just call me Calvin. But he was on the show. God, yesterday. I think it was yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it's not even out. It's not even released yet. But they were so kind. They are sponsoring our conference. Yeah, so the council is amazing, and I've got teachers myself, as we were talking right before we hit the record button. Like most childcare owners, we were dealing with a lot of new folks. Dealing's not the right word. We're working with a
Yeah.
lot of new folks. Apologize. I am tired today. We're working with a lot of new folks who are just coming into the field, and we want to support them and help them become professionalized. And CDA is a great way to go. And you're a smart enough leader to know that that takes not only the resources, but that little bit of love and support through leadership and being creative and thinking outside of the box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, so continue, tell us a little bit more. So, what's the name of your school?
My school is named Little Minds Universe. That's the name of our school. And the professional development agency is QS2.
Okay, all right.
QS2 Incorporated. Yep.
So, we're going to talk a little bit today about unconventional leadership and education. What does that look like to you, and how does it challenge traditional models?
So for me, unconventional leadership is just about breaking away from, because we have always done it this way mindset. Traditional leadership tends to follow like a top-down approach where administrators make the rules, the teachers enforce them, and the students kind of just follow them. Whereas the unconventional leadership kind of flips that by making education a more collaborative, dynamic, and like student-centered experience. And so I think it means empowering the teachers more to be able to take those risks, to be able to have a say, give them a voice, and let them know that, they're validated in their opinions, and really buying into the vision and the culture of the center. So it's about building a culture rather than just day-to-day compliance.
Yeah. And I think too, for me anyway, when you use the term leadership,
Yeah.
like to me that implies that you're leading a group of people to a destination,
Yeah.
right? But also I think good leaders know that they also have to grow other leaders. So I think that those are two important aspects that you're really touching on there is, how can I show people the way? But then once I show like they can do a lot of it. So it's almost that balance of
Yeah.
like I'm a coach sometimes, I'm the one who like knows the way sometimes, so you really gotta, yeah, you're laughing because right? It's
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
balance. It's that balance. So how do you strike the balance between innovation and new ideas and structural needs that typically childcare centers need
Yeah.
to require to function efficiently and effectively? So how do you do that balance?
Yeah, and I think that's a really great question because I mean structure is necessary, right? Like we
Mhm.
can't have chaos, but I think the key is knowing where structure is beneficial and where flexibility can be introduced. So, for example, policies around like student safety and curriculum standards are essential, but
Sure.
within those guidelines, there's always a lot of room for creativity.
Yeah.
Leaders can provide the framework rather than just them being strict rules, and then allowing the teachers to kind of innovate while still meeting the goals or the needs of the children. So it's just an approach to kind of pilot new ideas, and expand that work.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, which is
Yeah.
not in the script here, but um, how many staff do you have?
So over 20.
Okay. And have most of them been with you since you opened?
Yes.
I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell. No, and the reason I say that is because you clearly understand that yeah, my team needs some supports, but
Yeah.
you allow them that freedom to
Oh
do things
yeah.
themselves. And when I interview folks that come in for jobs, a lot of times they'll ask like, do I plan the curriculum or does somebody else plan the curriculum?
Yeah.
Because real teachers want to teach and
Sure.
they want some skin in the game. Like they don't
Sure.
want to just come and do like some pre-canned
Yeah.
curriculum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and everybody approaches it a little differently too, because your teachers have personalities. They have
Yeah.
their own interests that they like. They have students that have different interests across
Absolutely.
classrooms, right? So a good teacher really knows that, and a great leader knows they need some of that autonomy
Yeah.
to make decisions. You
Yeah,
know.
and it has to be fun for them. I always tell them, like, if it's not fun for you, it's not going to be fun for the children. I said, and that is going to determine if your day goes good or if you have a very challenging day, depending on how
Yeah.
you behave. And you just got to leave it at the door and show up for the kids. And in the midst of showing up, you kind of show up for yourself. Things will start to change, and you'll have a more positive outlook.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great advice. Um, can you share a challenge that you faced when introducing unconventional leadership strategies and maybe how you navigated that situation?
Yeah. Well, the biggest challenge of all, I think, is just that resistance. There's always resistance. There's always a hurdle, a stumbling block, whether it be from staff, parents, sometimes even students. I think people fear change a
Yeah.
lot of times, especially when it challenges them to dig deep and kind of get into the grit and the roots of things. So I face pushback when introducing new things or new models or shifting decision making to even teachers. They were like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't like. What do you mean? You're going to give us the opportunity to choose what we want to do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, just get it done. Like this is the goal. You know what needs to be done by X amount of date or X amount of time. So let's just get it done." So I just made sure to show the impact, whether through the growth, through teacher satisfaction, just kind of engaging them in the classroom also. And I think once people see the benefits, they become more open to that change. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'd like to stay here for a minute and
yeah.
like let's go a little deeper. So because you're right, people don't love change. So how do you roll it out? Like how do you roll out to your team when something major is going to change at the center?
So when something major is going to occur, we usually have a staff meeting. And prior to the staff meeting, there's probably some type of memo that I draft, just kind of letting them know, like if something's going to change in March, in January, I'm sending out a memo. Because I've already planned it out like back in September.
Yep.
So I'm just letting you know that it's now happening. And the memo is like very detailed. Like it doesn't go into everything, but it's detailed enough to where they don't have many questions. And then the questions that they do have, they can kind of sit on, kind of simmer a little bit, and then kind of like build them out so that when we meet in person, they can kind of hash those things out. And I think what helps is like even our staff meetings are unconventional. So we're not just in the classroom after hours at 7 p.m. once all the kids leave. Like, no, we're meeting up on a Saturday, probably around 10, 11. We're going to, Dave and Buster's, we're going to Applebee's, whatever.
Yeah.
We're really gonna chalk it up and just have a good
Yep.
time and talk. And that makes them more open to those changes and decisions that are being made.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have found my best success and my biggest changes have been when I've done strategic planning meetings with my staff and say, okay, like how are we going to improve? Where do we need to improve? Where are my blind spots? Because I'll turn to my team and say, where are my blind spots? Because
Absolutely.
we sit in these chairs and we
Yeah.
think this is what's best for our business, which
Yeah.
most of the time we do, but sometimes there are blind spots that your
Absolutely.
teachers or your families know
Yeah.
and you don't know them. And let
Yeah.
me tell you, when you get those people to the table and they let you know, like sometimes, and at first this is always me, no, no, no. And
Yeah.
then like 3 days later, I was like, oh man, they're right. Yeah,
Not a
yeah,
fact.
sometimes we gotta simmer too. Yeah, we gotta simmer too
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
For sure.
what would you say in your experience
Hmm.
with your unconventional approach?
Yeah.
What significant impact has that had on your students' growth and experiences at your center?
Um, I think so. I would say that one example that stands out was a student being labeled, the troublemaker. We all have those. They're labeled the
Johnny,
troublemaker in the
Johnny and Susie.
Johnny and Susie in the traditional setting. Johnny's biting or he's hitting. He's roughhousing. And I think that instead of coaching the teachers to kind of focus on the punishment, we just kind of took an unconventional approach, like giving him a leadership opportunity, in areas that we noticed and observed, reviewing his assessments that he was passionate about, maybe leading the line, maybe giving out the plates and the forks at lunchtime, whatever the case may be. And I think over time, he just transformed from a disengaged student who wanted to kind of do whatever he wanted to do into a role model, for others. And it proved that when we shift from that, rigid discipline type, and we unlock the potential in others. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Um, I think too when you change things up, if you always do something the same way
yeah,
and you don't change it up, you wouldn't really be able to see what other possibilities there are. Because
right,
sometimes too we make a change and it's not always the best change, so you
yeah,
might go back, but you also may uncover things that you weren't expecting to uncover. And
yeah,
sometimes the change really makes things like wow, like it's dramatic
yeah,
the change, and sometimes it's it's as simple as changing a classroom around,
mhm,
or changing the dynamic of the students in that
yeah,
classroom. I've seen that happen where, a child's like right on the line, and do we transition them to the next room? Do we
yeah,
not? And then the child moves to the next classroom, and the whole dynamic changes
yeah,
in the room, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that like one of the things that we've done, so like every year we take our staff on a staff retreat. So we
Yep.
close the center for an entire week. We take them away,
Nice.
and we're one of our locations is in a very old Jewish synagogue. So it's about 100-year-old building, which comes with its own like aesthetics, of course.
Sure.
And so we've created a plan that's like a renovate to educate. So just something where the parents like understand, like we know, it's a little dated in here, but give
Yeah.
us some time. And by such and such date, these are going to be the things that you start to see. And like one year, all we did was like put down a new floor over the old school tile
Uh-huh.
floors. And when the parents and the students and even the staff walked in and just saw the change in the floor, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like they were like, what is this
That's
like?
a major change.
Yeah,
A floor is a major change.
yeah,
Yeah. Could
major
change
change
the look of a whole room very
of the
quick.
whole room. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that it did because even sometimes I walk in, I'm like, whoa,
I
okay.
believe it. Yeah. I believe that. Yeah. It's one of the first things I notice when I walk in a room is the floor.
Yeah, it's the floor, absolutely,
Yeah.
or carpet.
How do you think you can support educators in developing creative leadership skills that go beyond the norm? How do you do that with your team and even in your training and consulting company?
Yeah, I think that we kind of just created a culture where risk taking is encouraged. Like rather than like punish, like we encourage risk takers. So like I have people all the time who are like, oh, no, your staff did that. And I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with that? And I'm justifying the reasoning behind which they did it, because we don't like kind of lead from the controlling aspect.
Sure.
You know, even when we encourage our staff to go for their CDAs, and they're all encouraged based on our encouragement. Because a lot of them feel like, I've never been in a place where the owner cares, where
Uh-huh.
the owner's invested, or we even see the owner. Like we're on site every single day. you know,
No, but listen, but this
you
is a
know,
very this is a true reality. I have some staff that come to me that have post traumatic stress disorder. Like
yes,
they're like, oh my god, you walk in the room and they're like, oh my god, did I do something wrong? I'm like, nope, just coming
yeah,
to say hi and getting a hug. Like, but no, but this is a real thing. This is
yeah,
a real thing. This is a real dilemma in our industry.
and it's so crazy, so crazy.
Yeah, and I don't think that we're really recommending that, you have to be the janitor and the bus driver.
Yeah,
That's not what we're saying. But you
yeah,
have to be engaged. You've got to
yeah.
be
Engagement.
plugged in. And I love when people say, I'm going to go work on the business, not in the business. I'm like, I'm in the people business, and the people are in the building. Right? So I love
Yeah,
that. I love that you and I share that. That's probably why you listen to podcasts, because
yeah.
the people are the most important part of your
It
business.
is your business. It's
Yeah.
literally your business.
Yeah.
There would be no business without it. And I mean, I
Yeah.
tell the staff all the time, like, I'm going to do everything. I don't take care of the kids. That's your job. Like, you
Yeah.
take care of the kids, I take care of you. And as
Yep.
long as I take care of you, you take care of the kids will take care of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
parents will then take
Yeah.
care of us. you know,
Yeah, happy
circle of
kids
life.
means happy parents. Yeah. Um, yeah, I love that. I love that. So thank
Yeah,
you for sharing that with the
sure.
listeners. I think it's important. It's one that you and I just go, oh, of course, but not everybody gets it. And if
No,
you're new opening up a child care center,
yeah,
like we want you to know that your presence
yeah,
matters. It
matters
matters. Yeah.
a great deal. So
And
much
it,
more than what you might think.
Yeah. So, what role does failure play in leadership when we're making changes? Because it's not always going to go the way we expect.
Yeah, I mean, when we started out, it didn't go as we expected. We had a lot of setbacks, a lot of red tape.
Yeah.
And when I started, I was very young. I was very young. No one wanted to give us a loan. No one wanted to like even
Oh,
lease a property. You know,
yeah.
and even the older, or the more seasoned, I should say,
Sure.
child care owners and the businesses that were in the community who were going out of business because of the lack of modernization or the willing to kind of push forward in modern era. They were not supportive. So I think failure is an essential part of growth.
Yeah.
If we only stick to what's safe, then we miss opportunities to improve. So I think the key is shifting the perspective from failure being a negative to failure being a learning experience. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think that you will hear that
yeah,
from all the best, not even just childcare, but like
yeah,
the top leaders in
yeah.
the in the world
In the
are going to
world,
tell you that, right? I mean, oh, even inventors, how many times did they invent something that had flopped, and then that one
exactly,
thing was
exactly.
the thing, right?
What's the thing?
Thank you for the lights,
Thank,
right?
thank you.
Thank you for the lights, but that
Yeah,
wasn't like you came out the gate with a light bulb, right?
right. Thank you for the
So
chairs.
yeah, all those
All
trial and
the,
error,
yeah,
and that's how kids learn, but that's how we learn too.
yeah,
You gotta try new things, and I
yeah,
think also it helps you keep your passion for
yeah.
what we're doing. If you because
Absolutely.
it get mundane,
Yeah,
especially with compliance and paperwork and things like that. Like just trying different things and find
yeah,
what works for you. And what works for you is might be different for me, but
yeah,
just getting in that groove of what works for
for
you.
sure.
I think it makes a difference, and it makes you stay like excited about
Yeah,
coming in on Monday. If you don't want to go in on Monday and it's your business,
yeah,
you got a problem.
yeah.
You got a problem.
Got a problem.
You
Got a
got a
problem.
problem. Yeah, for
So how
sure.
do you? I know that you've been doing this for a while, and this is not my podcast; it's yours. But
Yeah,
how do you encourage
it's
the
our
thousands of
podcast.
people?
This is our
This
podcast.
is our podcast.
Yes, it is.
How do you encourage the thousands of people that I know you deal with on a probably a weekly basis?
How do I encourage? I think number one, listening,
Yeah,
because if everybody's talking, nobody's listening. So I think listening, trying to understand where they are at, because we're all in different parts of our journey, right? I've been
cool.
doing this 26 years. I'm
Yeah.
at a different part than maybe somebody who's just starting out.
Yeah.
And I don't mean experience wise and money wise.
Right.
I don't mean that. I just mean
Yeah.
we want different things from our
Right.
businesses, right? I'm at the point where I want to leave a legacy. My daughter now runs a center for me.
Nice.
It's a family owned business. I want to do other things, which I am, right?
Yeah.
So everybody, just trying to understand where are they at and where do they see themselves? What
Right.
do they want, right? Because it's not about me. Everybody
Yeah.
can give advice. Yeah, here's what I think you should do.
Yeah.
Cool. But I don't know you the way
Yeah.
you know you. So
Yeah.
it's being about, I think, listening and having people be reflective. Because
Yeah.
I think that's something that we breeze over a lot. Like being reflective, like sitting down. And I think childcare owners sometimes have this right, although it's looked at as a negative. How many times do people leave your center and you just sit at your desk and you reflect?
Yeah. All the
Right?
time.
Yes,
I
right.
want to
But
know.
people are like, oh, that's not right. You're there, burning the.
Yeah.
My favorite times. Oh, this is gonna come out wrong, but many of my favorite times are on a weekend,
Yeah.
on a night. Like when you're sitting there on Saturday and you're like, wow, like I built this,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did this, like
Absolutely.
like and it's not even vain. It's just being reflective
No,
of like, wow,
it's
like, and
real.
I'm like you, like I grew up poor, so
Yeah.
I didn't have money. No rich daddy gave me
Right.
a loan. I had to do the business plan. I had to
Yep.
go to
Yep.
courses. I had to go to the SBA. I had to do all those things. I
Yeah.
even remember when collateral. I was like, well, what do they want for collateral? I don't own anything. Like seriously, these
Yeah.
are real
Yeah.
conversations. My sister's probably laughing right now because I couldn't even tell you what we really were gonna say, but I'm just like we have nothing. Like we had I think we had 20. This is how our company started. We had $20,000 in a business plan, and the
Wow.
$20,000 came from my sister who would save money, not in the bank, like
Yeah.
under a mattress because we're Italian, under a mattress, and she's like, this was like our entire life savings, right? We
Yeah.
built that $20,000
Wow.
to 6 childcare centers.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, everybody's, oh, I'm a 6-figure, 7-figure. Okay. We were in those figures a long time ago when
Long
those
time.
figures actually meant that you made money, right? I mean, now you need 6 figures to pay for milk.
Yeah.
But,
Exactly. Exactly.
um, I just think, encouraging people
Yeah.
by helping them
Yeah.
really see themselves and where do they, just
Yep.
what is it that you want and go for it. And if I have resources, I'd love to help you out with that. And I feel like that's how this podcast started. It really
Yeah.
started from, I was like, wow, it was the pandemic. Well, after the pandemic, but it was like just after, and people were struggling, myself included. I'm like, oh God, like, I'm like, am I ready to keep this up? And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I love my kid, but
Yeah.
I'm being honest. Like,
Yeah.
every one of us, the most passionate people,
Yep.
were like, wow,
Yeah.
am I done? Like, I'm
This is it.
exhausted. There was,
Yeah.
and I was like, I can't be the only one. And I just started talking to people. And then I was like, get me a mic, literally $100 mic at Best Buy. And now here we are
Yeah.
like 2 years later or so. But that's how it started. Really,
Wow.
just, having a great community.
Yeah. And like the reflection, like I encourage reflection, and then, like you said, it's so important. And I think that that's what's helped me to grow to where I am, because I share my own failures with openly with my team.
Absolutely.
To the model that it's okay to try and fail. And I think that vulnerability is what helped kind of create the culture where setbacks are more of a stepping stone than a
Mhm.
roadblock, you know?
When you are human to your staff, the amount of we're keeping it real here. When you
Such
are
a
a human being to your staff, the amount of love and effort that they give back to you is unmeasurable.
unmeasurable.
Unmeasurable. So I'll share this story, and I think I might have shared it once or twice on the podcast. But
Yeah.
so our state in Rhode Island, we had a new system that the child care reimbursement was coming through.
Yep.
And as soon as they put it up, this was back when Gina Raimondo was the governor here, it crashed. We didn't get paid for like 3 months. The state owed me about $70,000. I almost went bankrupt. I almost went out of business
Yep.
floating the state. Now we did eventually, obviously we all got our money through a few months later and reconciliations and all those things, which was a headache. And it wasn't anybody's fault. It just crashed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can remember being at lunch with an employee and I didn't have enough money for my own lunch because I hadn't paid myself in weeks. But I made sure every employee got paid and no one got laid off. So I remember her buying me lunch, and I remember sitting there and go, how embarrassing, and this can never happen again. And she looked at me, she's like, it's not your it's not your fault that
Yeah.
it crashed, but I mean, it's just something as simple as that. Like, she was like, no, we got you this time. Right? You
Yeah.
made sure we all got paid. You made sure that, nobody lost a job. And yeah, and I have tons of stories like that. But
I
when
love
you
it.
when you really are, a leader who makes a difference and
Yeah.
is really plugged in,
Yeah.
and I almost wish we didn't even call it unconventional, because I wish, no, because I wish that this was the normal.
Yeah.
I wish this was the normal, right? These are real things. And this is a hard job. It's easy
Yeah.
for us as owners to say, oh, the teacher's this, the teacher that.
Yep.
You got to remember what it was like to be a teacher.
Yeah.
I was a teacher, right?
Right.
I was a teacher, and we were teachers before,
Yeah.
COVID. Like,
Oh yeah.
this is a whole new thing.
It's
I
a
can
whole new.
remember being a teacher. There was no social media.
Nope.
There was not none of that. There was no parent app. There was a piece of paper that said Johnny ate 4 carrots and he pooped purple. Like, that was it. These
Circle
poor
how
girls
many
are
diapers
watching
you
kids.
need.
Yes. They're watching kids. They're doing apps, all these things. Oh, I only got 5 pictures of Johnny. I didn't get 8.
Yeah.
Like, these are like, come on,
Yeah.
Jeremy.
I know.
Come on, Jermaine. Right? These are real things that are happening. And so take it easy on your team, because
Yeah.
they are really the heartbeat of your school. So you
Absolutely.
have to be a great leader, and teachers that are listening, because we know you're listening. We're human too, and we're
We're
gonna make
human too.
mistakes. So
Yes.
please give us some grace as well.
Please.
Yeah, yes. So for aspiring education leaders, what advice would you offer for those looking to move away from a traditional leadership
Yep.
style and adapt to a more like innovative approach?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say start small. Like, you don't have to, Rome wasn't conquered in a day. You don't have to overhaul the entire system overnight. Just think about that one thing that you want to change and take action. It could be as simple as, how you run your staff meetings, where
Yeah,
you have your staff meetings. It can be simple as like just giving teachers more of a voice. And I think just finding a community, like surrounding yourself with like-minded people who challenge the status quo, and
yeah.
just stay true to that. Stay true to that and who you are, and the rest will fall into place for sure.
Yeah. Staff meetings. Let's talk about those for a minute. So those of you who are listening, here's some good advice. If your staff meeting is just going to be a laundry list of all the things they didn't do, don't bother having the meeting and
Put it
save
in
yourself the money. Put it in a memo, right? Staff meetings really, what do you love staff meetings for? Give me some examples of things that you think really work well for a staff meeting.
I love staff meetings for honestly food and connection.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I
Yeah.
want to catch up. I want to know how school is going. I want to know how, your children are doing. I want to know what I can do to help you in your personal life. I really want to just
Yeah.
connect with you. I don't want to really talk about policy procedures. I mean, we did that in onboarding. We'll do that again,
Yeah.
another time. So,
Yeah, I can remember early on in my career, some of my teachers would be like, "Why are we having a staff meeting about uniforms again? I wear my uniform every day. Why do I have to be at this mandatory meeting about wearing a uniform?" And I was like, "Wow, you're right." So she's like, "Can you just talk to the two over there that don't wear their uniforms in the office, right?" But I was 26 years old. I never worked in childcare. I was 26 years old. I
oh,
thought I was being a good boss by saying, "Hey guys, these are the rules. These are the rules." Well, guess what? Your people who follow the rules know the rules, and they follow them. Don't you dare make them sit there and take a half hour away from their family for nothing.
right.
It should be about connection,
Yeah.
innovation.
Yeah.
It's their time to talk, because let's face it, we
Yeah.
talk a lot at them. Maybe it's their time to talk at those staff meetings.
For
Would you
sure.
love if they gave you the laundry list in front of everybody of all the things that you stink at as a leader?
Imagine.
You
Could
would,
you
yeah.
imagine?
Well, you know, just food for thought. Food for thought. So it's probably not the place to do it. It
Yeah.
is a good place to, if there are big sweeping changes,
Yep.
maybe coming down in your state. That's a great time for a staff
Yep.
meeting. If you're switching an app, you're going from ProCare to Playground,
Like
and
a
you need to, yeah, you need to do that. So, and then that gives everybody a chance to ask questions that maybe they didn't think of,
Right.
right? But someone else on the team did, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that was a good question,"
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So before we wrap it up,
Sure.
is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you really like to share?
Um, I wouldn't say anything else really, but I want to just say that relationships are everything. Like, I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit before. Like, we're in the people business, but relationships aren't everything. No matter how innovative your ideas might be,
Yeah,
if don't build strong relationships with teachers, with your students should know who you are. Your family should know who you are.
yeah,
None of it will stick. Like, no one's gonna care at the end of the day. Leadership isn't just about authority. It's about trust. It's
yeah,
about connection, and it's about the shared purpose that you guys come together, and that's to take care of the children and educate them. So the best leaders are those who listen, empower, and inspire. So I would encourage you to do that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love that. And if you're interested in learning more about leadership, you need to join us at the Early Childhood Empowerment Conference on May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Yeah, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in Warwick, Rhode Island. Beautiful Rhode Island. I am bringing a national conference to my state. I am beyond excited. I will put the links below. And I will also share my guy's here info below on his training program. Um, so I guess that's it, guys, for today. Just remember, it's the small details that make a big impact in the success of your childcare business. That's all. Have a great day.